It looks to me I'm the last person standing between you and freedom, so I'll try to keep it as short as possible. Good thing is that I'm not covering any generic, and I think my esteemed panel has covered a lot of generic facts about technology and terrorism. I'm just picking one part of it, I think, which is also very significant in the overall spectrum of problem. That's fake accounts, right? Which is also can be equated with anonymity in internet, which aids terrorists and good people alike, right? So and also the solution part of this problem is a bit of a machine learning. I will explain some of the things that I have experimented with, and also the whole spectrum that's available. AI and machine learning is really vast, and what I can cover today is probably tip of the iceberg. Right, so everybody knows what fake profiles can do to any sort of system, right? Facebook said it has about 167 million fake accounts. This is 2014 result. The amount of things, if they are collaborated, the amount of damage that they can do to the trust, reputation, and all sorts of viability of a system is enormous, right? It also brings to the question whether should we make systems closed systems, which is like, for every Facebook account created, should there be a hard identity, right? That's one very obvious solution, but very difficult to implement in real life, because most of these are commercial businesses and they would like very easy sign-ups, right? So that's rolled out. And of course, a lot of fake accounts in both civilian and criminal or defense world can create a lot of havoc in terms of harassment, ransom. I deal with a case every week where some profile, which looks very real, proper photos, educational backgrounds, everything listed, and then someone connects to them, and then they start chatting. And one friend of mine, he sent me a profile saying, "This lady added me as a friend. Now she wants to chat. Can you take a look whether this is real profile?" Right? Because obviously they're trying to trap or entrap and create a ransom around it. There are so many such, and I at least have about 10 known profiles, and all of it, we don't know who the real person behind is, right? So some of the solutions for it is, it may look very high tech. Like, how many of you have seen Minority Report here? Right? Okay, all right, few. It's prediction of potential crime based on a lot of the parameters which would lead to crime based on the past data analysis, right? While it's controversial, there are all sorts of ideological arguments that can be put around use of machine learning to identify a fake profile or a potentially criminal profile. There is a strong technology behind it. Without taking a stand on how we will use, I would explain a little bit of what this technology is, some of the nuances of this technology, and then let you folks decide how you want to use it. So basic premise is very simple in these cases, right? There's always correlation and causation, right? Famous saying is correlation is not causation, but often, when analyzed properly and verified properly, there are cases where correlation, causation are indeed related. Correlation becomes the causation, right? And that's the premise between lot of the machine learning applied to cybercrime analytics is. The primary input, though, for all these things is there needs to be an established a set of data. Let's say a million fake profiles which are manually created or somehow identified, and say these are the type of things which we can look at for a fake profile. Manually, it would be very hard to do because there are so many different parameters. It's very, very difficult to create even an Excel sheet of these are the parameters, right? That's where machine learning comes into picture, because the models can be trained to automatically look for various types of classification amongst large set of data. Of course, initially we may need to what they call supervised learning, and then once the base is set, the data can be used and the models can be used to automatically discover a large amount of fake data. Right? The last experiments that was done in LinkedIn was able to identify fake profiles up to the accuracy of 99.95, which is pretty high in technology world. Although, to really claim we are perfect, you need to have 5 nines, so that's 99.999. So this is, basic for all of the machine learning. I'll quickly go into, I think I may be running out of time, quickly go into a bit of the classifiers, right? This is where the expertise comes into picture, right? It's very easy to say, use machine learning to understand how these things work and then use those rules to predict which one is fake or not. But depending on type of the data and also the context in which we are operating, different algorithms need to be chosen, and sometimes it's a trial and error, sometimes it's a very, very involved exercise, right? It also depends on, I'll give you a couple of examples, a real life example, not directly related to it, but how anonymity can be broken, right? So one great story which happened a couple of years ago is New York. New York released cab data of all the cabs running in the city. Huge information, right? What routes they take, what kind of charges they make, which is indexed across the license number of the driver. So these were few million records, so through which you can figure out a lot of data. But there is one person who looked at the indexes. The indexes were created using hash of the license number, which is a six digit alphanumeric number. So he figured there are only 20 million hashes possible, right? He reverse computed all the hashes. So now he has 20 million hashes and 6 million previously hashed data, through which he can figure out which hash belonged to which license number. And once you have the license number, you know who the driver is. And once you know who the driver is, you can figure out how much money he made in that month, which is a very, very privacy related data, right? So anonymity in the context of a single data set may be available, but if you combine 2-3 publicly available data sets, any sort of anonymity can be broken. That's the fundamental hypothesis behind a lot of these fake profile detection algorithms. Another great example is, this was a very old example, but very good nonetheless. AOL Research. It released search history of all its users. It's a very, very useful information for research, right? But it didn't obviously release who the users are. But for each user, it gave a unique identity, a random number. There is no traceability, right? So someone again took that data, and one particular user, they looked at the data, and one of the searches was a beauty salon near this pin code, right? So they narrowed it down. Okay, this person has to be living in this area. They looked at a couple of other data. They were around that pin code. And then they deduced a couple of times like this. And they could actually figure out who that woman was. And they contacted her, and they asked her permission to release the data. They released the data, and whole of the AOL CTO team got fired because of it. Again, what was supposed to be a completely anonymous, nobody could detect, turned out to be very, very detectable because there is intelligence use of the data. So how do you make a machine understand these kind of intelligence, which is related to multiple data sets and deduction logic, and basically think like a human being, right? Not like a software, just not number crunch, but also learn what is happening. So some of the algorithms that are listed, especially in the context of fake profiles, depending on the data, right? If it is fake profile, just some kids doing for some fun, or some random fake profiles, that's a different issue. But if these fake profiles are related to some propaganda, and that propaganda has different Twitter account, that Twitter fake account is related to this data, then you use a different algorithm, right? So the part of, or large part of work in this area comes under determining which algorithm to make the accuracy very high. So I was looking for Indian data so that I can actually present you some real information, but there's not much, and also I didn't have time to actually run a model on this. But I looked at some of the cybercrime data on Indian open data portal. Right, some of this is very, very, very obvious. I mean, you could have guessed it without even looking at this data, right? Most cybercrimes are committed by 18 to 35 and that age group. Also, Maharashtra seems to be leading in terms of number of cybercrime. This is very ordinary, right? But then I ran this analysis with another data which we found is number of computers in every state, right? If you look at that, very interesting thing emerged. Maharashtra was okay because number of computers is directly proportional to number of cybercrime, which makes sense. But if you look at Chhattisgarh data, which is circled there, so it has lowest number of computers, but disproportionate number of cybercrime incidents. So that gives you something to work on. I mean, if you run it with, again, a couple of other data sets, you can actually pinpoint where, probably which village these things are happening. And that's a very, very useful data for counter-terrorism or anti-cybercrime or cybercrime cells to act upon. And that's the beauty of using machine learning in various contexts. And it's not even hard, right? I mean, because this is just data and the software is written. You just need to integrate a lot of things and work on it a bit. It's not really cutting edge as people claim them to be. These things exist. I mean, the language R, which is considered the best artificial language or the most advanced artificial language was created in 1965, right? And it's not changed much. So none of this is really high-tech as it is projected. It just needs lot of understanding, intelligence, and application. So my ask would be, as I said, these models can be applied in any context, but we need data. And I think a lot of independent researchers exist, especially in the machine language. There are a lot of freelancers who do these modeling. We just need access to data and how and what you needs to figure out. Thank you.